seeing how difficult it is to work with data today because we went from data driven, brought us to being actually data hoarders. And little by little, we've been moving towards this data informed era, right? Where we want to make decisions based on data. And now, with the advent of AI, obviously, it's becoming increasingly easier to digest data and come up with insights to a degree, to a very nice degree of maturity. But in the role of KPIs and doing this audit, I wonder, how do you go about challenging, defining the KPIs, or even vetting whether we're measuring things the right way to actually move forward? Because I mean, if you're not measuring, you're not growing, right? So, have you been in that tension in which they're measuring the KPIs, but they might not be measuring the right KPIs, or the KPIs they're measuring are not being measured the right way? Have you been in those situations?
Yeah, I mean, one that jumps out right now is I was working with a client recently, and the good news is they set up these metrics in their experiments, so they were there. But
Hmm.
the test was kind of convoluted, and there was some interesting conversations that came from it. Their primary metric was begin checkout. Um, that worries me a little bit because checkout doesn't always correlate to final conversions, and that was the case here. So they were also measuring purchases, but they were
Hmm.
also measuring revenue per visitor and total revenue. And this was very interesting. The challengers, both 1 and 2, both increased begin checkouts. Well, that's good. So we're getting more people to start checkout. But then when we looked at purchases, 1 was increasing purchases, but 2 was not. It was actually lowering purchases. So if we stopped at begin checkout as the conversion metric, they would have thought 2 could have been a winner, even though it wasn't. But then when we started looking at revenue per visitor, revenue per visitor was down for both 1 and 2. But because version 1 was getting so many more conversions and purchases, total revenue was up. So this is a very convoluted story. So it goes back to the whole organization needs to understand, if we have an experimentation mindset, what is our North Star metric? And in this case for them, it could be revenue, total revenue, because that's how the business grows, right? So then you
Yeah.
look at a test and say, well, start checkouts is up, but in this case, conversion of purchases are down. And then in this case, revenue per visitor is down, but the other one had so many conversions that actual revenue is up. So now you know how to evaluate a test, because if revenue is the goal, then you have a test result that says we have a way of increasing revenue.